The fastest way to read a human being, number one way, is to keep one question in your head. It is, what does this person want me to feel about them? And what do they want me to notice? Number one. So what do they want me to notice about them? And that's going to show you the beginnings of understanding the mask that people wear. Because everyone wears some kind of a mask. And I'm not talking about a COVID mask, but I'm talking about like a persona that I put onto the world. And the way that I teach this to military and government is the mask is made up of the things that this person built to conceal shame. It's a public weapon to use shame. You could just log into Twitter and you'll see it in 30 seconds. You'll see how shame is being weaponized. So shame creates cognitive dissonance, which is a mental discomfort. Mental discomfort says, I don't want to be this uncomfortable in front of people. That creates a mask. So we wear these personas and these masks to cover up something. So if you see somebody, 90%, 99% of us have a mask. And this is the population of Earth. How thin it is, how thick it is, that's what changes and what the mask is made of. So if I'm seeing somebody who's acting like he's posturing all the time, he's yelling, he's like just puffing his chest out, the mask is usually the opposite of what it's concealing. So I'm seeing a fearful little boy that's afraid of being hurt.
A chihuahua.
Yeah, I'm seeing a chihuahua that's barking, and if I bark enough, no one's going to hurt me. And that's what I'm really seeing there. That's what a mask is. 99% we would be inaccurate in predicting who is a psychopath and who's not. They're so hard to spot. And psychopaths are attracted to large cities. In my analysis, you've heard of the bystander effect, right? So for your listeners, what this means is if I'm in a big city like New York or something like that, and I get hurt and I'm laid on the ground and I'm wounded and I'm begging for help, the more people that are around me, the less likely I am to get help. Like people will take pictures, they'll take videos. They all assume that somebody else is going to call 911, but they'll stand there and watch. So if I took this behavior in isolation and I told you a story about a person watching another person get stabbed and they stand there and watch, they watch in interest, you would call that person a psychopath. When you get into a large city, that behavior is common. That is the bystander effect, is the behavior of psychopaths. So us not relying on reputation, and we're not in a tribe anymore. Our brains are not wired to handle millions of people. They're wired to handle a tribe of about 150. So when we get to a big city, we have no capacity for empathy for that many people. So it gets shut off. Our brains say, I can't do that. And empathy goes away. That's why we're in LA right now. We're driving around. We just got off the freeway. We shared a car here together. People are bad drivers because there's no reputation. You're never going to see those people again. I don't have to rely on reputation. That means I don't care what other people think. So more psychopathy. I think psychopathy is a spectrum.
This part hits on something most people never think about. Every single one of us wears a mask. We all develop a persona, usually in childhood, to survive, to be liked, or to avoid conflict. But here's the scary twist. Psychopaths wear their mask better than anyone. They don't feel guilt, they don't feel fear, and they don't slip emotionally the way normal people do. That's why they look so charming, so composed, so perfect. In many ways, they overlap with narcissists, both project confidence, both crave control, both manipulate through appearance. But the psychopath is colder, emptier. And this is where the bystander effect becomes dangerous. When people stop relying on reputation, when empathy isn't triggered, we start treating others like objects instead of humans. That's exactly how psychopathy operates. No emotional weight, no inner consequence, just calculation. So the real lesson isn't just that everyone wears a mask. It's that some masks are hiding nothing. No conscience, no empathy. And unless you know what to look for, You won't see the difference until the damage is already done.
And the second thing that I'm looking for is somebody's level of self-control every time. So what does their mask look like? What do they want me to believe? So when I was raising my kids, they were 7, 8, 9 years old. We'd pull up to a stoplight and there'd be a car in front of us covered in bumper stickers. I would tell my son or my daughter, what do you think those bumper stickers are trying to say if they had a voice? And it would be like I did Yosemite and there's a marathon thing and like I go fishing and like all kinds of crazy stuff. And my daughter, her name's Charlotte, she would go, I'm adventurous. I said, all right, keep going, keep going. What does that mean to other people though? It means that you can trust me. Okay, what else? It means I'm fun. Okay, what else? It means I'm a good friend. What else? I need friends. What does that mean? I'm lonely. The better you get at understanding humans, the more that you're going to see loneliness, shame, and suffering. It's every human being. So the way that I deal with loneliness, conceal shame, and kind of anesthetize myself from suffering are equals human behavior. I want to find out how this person reacts to conflict and how they make friends and how they socialize. Because every human being is a product of how, when they were 8 or 9 years old, how they earned friends, gained rewards, and kept themselves safe. Anybody listening right now will be able to spot somebody with discipline. And that's one of the first things I look at, somebody's degree of self-control. And I know that instantly, even if they're a stranger, they'll be more predictable in a good way. Like they're more likely to be trustworthy because they already discipline themselves. They have self-control. So if I know that I'm getting into a business relationship or something with somebody that has self-control problems, and you may see this, some people might think that that's somebody being overweight and they might have some self-control issues. Then I'm just a little more cautious. It's not that I'm not going to do it. It's just I know to be a little cautious about any indicators of low self-control.
What's really fascinating here is how self control and discipline aren't just in your mind, they show up in your body. Every posture, every movement, even the way you breathe, sends a signal. People who train consistently or live disciplined lives move differently, steady, purposeful, confident. Their energy speaks before they even say a word. Essentially, your body broadcasts your habits, your focus, your mindset. So the next time you see someone calm and controlled, know this: you're witnessing discipline in action, a language of its own.
I think that's the biggest problem for most people is that they don't know who they really are. And that means that someone else will be able to tell you, and other people will be able to influence that. So I think that once you get familiar and intimately familiar with whatever the opposite of the mask that we wear is, we get to a point where we no longer need the mask to cover things up. I don't want anybody to think that once you find your mask, that it's some kind of exit door. There's no exit. Like we're programmed to do this. We're programmed to wear masks as human beings. You are in the business of manufacturing gut feelings in other human beings. You're making gut feelings in other people all day, every day on accident. And now it's time to learn how to do this on purpose. If I'm looking for a partner, I am married, by the way, but if I am looking for a partner, number one thing above everything else is the degree of artificiality that that person is comfortable with. So if I see someone and they're getting their dopamine from likes on Instagram, I will never compete with that. Even if we're in a relationship, that addiction is still going to be there, and they're living this kind of artificial life on Instagram. They make YouTube videos and their personality's fake, their background is fake. They clean up just the little area of their house where like the video is going to be, and everything on Instagram is curated and perfect. I know that that person is extremely comfortable with artificiality. So for women, the number one question that a woman can ask a guy is, what's the biggest thing you learned about yourself through like the last few relationships you had? And you'll hear a lot of people say, well, I learned not to trust people because this girl was a bitch, or, some girl cheated on me. And I learned that I should never do X, Y, and Z because of this. And it's always, even all the stuff they learned about themselves is somebody else's fault.
Mm-hmm.
The second thing that they're going to do is what I learned about myself is that I am strong enough and I deserve more. And like, then they'll start inflating themselves. So the authentic person will say, whoa, I had this relationship. I realized that I was not strong enough to do X, or I had insecurities around this. That question alone, what is the biggest thing you learned about yourself? If someone has a mask on, that's the perfect opportunity for me to show you how powerful my mask is.
Mm-hmm.
It's also the perfect opportunity for an authentic person to really genuinely give you an answer.
Yeah.
How do they respond after an evening out? Like, do they send a text the next day and say, hey, thanks for that? Or are you seeing just like data? Like, they only want to know data? Like, what time are we meeting next? Or what time is this going to happen? And you get into a conversation with them, and let's say you get into a 1 hour talk with them on Zoom or something. And the entire talk is business, numbers, strategies. Because an authentic person never feels really authentic because they are open about all the ways that they are inauthentic, which means their comfort level with inauthenticity is low.
What really stands out in this part is the idea that some people are deeply uncomfortable with inauthenticity, and you can actually see it on them. Your appearance isn't just style or genetics, it's a reflection of your patterns, your emotions, the way you've moved through life. Your face shows what you've repeated, your posture shows what you've survived, and your expressions reveal what you're willing to hide or not hide. People who can't stand being fake often carry a different presence. Their face is more expressive, their body language is more open, their reactions more honest. Authenticity leaves a mark just as much as inauthenticity does. So when someone looks uncomfortable pretending, that's not a weakness. It's alignment. Their body refuses to lie even when their words try to. And that's one of the strongest tells of a genuinely authentic person.
There's a tactic that all intelligence operatives learn, and it's called elicitation. You use statements instead of questions to get the most powerful information from other people. When a person's being asked a question, it raises a little door in the brain that says, I need to be careful about the answer. If you're responding to a statement, your brain does not have that little security guard that comes out. And so, as a light example, let's just imagine you and me took an Uber to get here. And let's imagine you and me we're going to take an Uber back after this. We get into that Uber, and I say, I just read online that Uber drivers were rated the number one job satisfaction of all the jobs in the country. And I just said a statement, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's going to turn around and go, what? Where did you see this? So that starts a conversation. And then he says, no, it's really bad. I do this, and they take the money and this and this. And then I do disbelief. This is another technique. Disbelief says, no way. There's no way that company would treat you like that. He goes, oh yeah, you will never guess what happened just a couple of weeks ago. And then he just kind of goes into this deep story that he would never tell another client. Who does he tell these stories to? Friends. I've made his brain start behaving in friend mode, and I haven't even asked any questions yet. And then let's say he goes into a story, and then I say, my neighbor's daughter started driving for Uber, and she said she saw the wildest things happen in her back seat. And then you're going to hear a story again. And I have not asked any questions. And the way that I teach this is, if you and I are standing at the grocery store, and there's a young lady over there stocking fruits. And I said, all right, Leon, you've got 60 seconds to go up to this person and find out how much they make for a living. And you're not allowed to ask any questions. It's tough to think about that. So if I went over to her and I said, hey, I'm trying to find the baby carrots or whatever, and she starts walking me over somewhere, haven't asked a question yet. That was a statement. And then I say, I just read on LinkedIn that you guys got bumped up to $22 an hour. That's unbelievable. That's great. Congratulations to everybody here. That's amazing. And she goes, what? We only make $17.50. Everybody does. I've got that. And there was no willingness, there was no stress around this is financial information. I can't talk about sex, can't talk about money because we're in America. So I avoided that social barrier because there was no question being asked.
What most people don't realize about communication is this: the less you ask, the more you learn. That's the secret behind true elicitation. It's not about grilling someone with questions. It's about creating the conditions where they want to give you information. You make observations instead of inquiries. You let silence do the heavy lifting. You drop a casual assumption and let them correct you with the truth. People are wired to fill in blanks, to explain themselves, to clarify what they think you misunderstood. And that instinct reveals far more than any direct question ever could. This is why the best interrogators, negotiators, and even the best social communicators barely look like they're questioning at all. They just open a door and the other person walks right through. Elicitation shows us this simple reality: the deeper the information you want, the fewer questions you need to ask, because people will tell you everything when it feels like their idea to do it.
So a different way to do this is called quotes, facts, and figures. And you deliberately say, I saw a YouTube video, read an article, did something that said X, Y, and Z, and it triggers a need in the human brain that's almost irresistible. And it's called the need to correct the record. I need to set the record straight, which is what I was talking about in the Uber.
Oh, that's fascinating.
And the next way we do this is just making what's called a provocative statement. So let's say I asked you what you do for a living, and you say, well, I make YouTube videos, and now I'm starting this new podcast thing, and it's been interesting. It's been a good career change. And I say, wow, YouTube, that has got to be challenging. Yeah. And then it starts coming out. It's like people can't resist. And then let's say you said, well, yeah, it's challenging. We did this, and monetizing and YouTube language and whatever else. And I said, I cannot imagine what that is. That's got to be really stressful. It's got probably keeps you up at night. And then when I'm editing videos, and then let's say you just talked about editing a video, and I said, editing videos. And then you would keep talking.